Hi folks, the Filipina P here. And today we're going to be talking about some pretty weird laws in the Philippines, from how a murder might not be prosecuted to the tactic of hiring your girlfriend as a maid, and how to cancel her contract when her services are no longer required. To get the facts straight, I'm going to interview an actual lawyer. So this is one video you don't want to miss. Hi, Attorney Dave. Welcome to my show. How are you doing today?
Hi, Miss P. Thank you for inviting me to your channel. I'm actually all good. I'm excited for this interview.
Great. So let us know a little bit about your background.
I actually both teach and practice law, Miss P. I've been a teacher for around 8 years. And when I passed the bar, I had to juggle my time between teaching and lawyering.
Ah, wow, that's very impressive. So, anyway, attorney, as I have mentioned prior to this call, most of my viewers are foreigners. So, my recent guest, he had this situation before. So, he was renting an Airbnb or a hotel. So, they asked for his passport. So, is it legal? Can a hotel demand to hold your passport until you can pay? Or let's say, what about a hospital? Who can demand it? Is it legal for them to ask for his passport?
Before I answer that, Miss P, I'd like to highlight that our conversation is purely for informational purposes only and will not constitute as a legal advice. It's always better to seek legal representation in person. There is no legal basis for any private individual or entity to withhold a foreign passport. It can constitute as illegal detention and coercion if, for example, passport retention will effectively limit a person's liberty of movement. In your question, let's say, I think that the reason why they wanted to withhold the passport is for as a security purpose, for just to ensure that the foreigner will pay the fees for the hotel. Am I correct? Is that the reason why they have there is no law supporting any withholding of a passport by a foreign national. As to hospitals, there is actually a law that makes it unlawful for hospitals or medical clinics to demand any deposit in any form, such as advance payments or even withholding of a foreigner's passport in order to avail of medical treatment. So in both hotels and hospitals, it's both illegal to withhold a foreigner's passport.
Okay, so the foreigner can refuse to give his or her passport, and he can maybe just arrange something with the, let's say, with the hotel and the hospital in this case.
I would advise that in the Philippines, there are only government regulations as to retention of foreigners' passport. For example, if the foreigner is involved in an ongoing investigation or immigration violation, or if there is a pending case in court, or usually our passports are only needed for compliance checks in the Bureau of Immigration and the DOJ, right? So there is actually no need for a foreigner to give his or her passports to the medical or hotel services.
Okay, so that is clear, folks, that you don't have to surrender your passport, because if something happens, you really have to get a hold of your passport in case of emergencies. And also hospitals, they cannot refuse treatment. And if they demand your passport, you can actually say it is not lawful for them to collect your passport. Okay, so at least that is now clear.
Yes.
All right. My second question, attorney. Most of my subscribers come here, they retire, they get into a relationship with a Filipina, and they're kind of afraid to be subjected to the cohabitation laws, right? We have cohabitation laws. So one of my subscribers asked me, can you hire a girlfriend as a maid, and then if the relationship goes south, you can just fire her? So is he going to be affected with the common law marriage or cohabitation laws if he does that here in the Philippines?
That's actually a smart move, Miss P. In fact, I've read many times that foreigners actually do that with their girlfriends. They hire them as maids as well. My answer would be yes, you can hire your girlfriend as a maid, but you cannot just fire a girlfriend or a domestic worker when the relationship goes bad, and that will go against our laws on the Domestic Workers Act and then the Labor Code. There are two circumstances by which we can terminate a domestic helper legally. One is for just causes, another is for authorized causes. Just causes, Ms. P, refer to those actions that are illegal committed by the domestic helper. For example, gross negligence, or the domestic helper has committed a crime against the employer or the immediate family of the employer. So that can be a ground for a termination. And then we also have the second one, the authorized causes for termination, which includes, for example, the employer wanted to move back to the United States and it becomes impossible or impractical to continue with the employment of the domestic helper. And another one, if the foreigner is no longer capable of supporting or or giving employment to the domestic helper, that can be an authorized ground for the termination of a domestic helper.
So, hypothetically, attorney, what if upon hiring your girlfriend as a maid, it has to be renewed every 6 months? They'll have an option to terminate the contract and terminate the employment.
That may be a stipulation in the contract, as long as you have a valid contract with the domestic helper, and as long as it was clear since the beginning that it's renewable or subject to renewal every 6 months. In a contract, both parties can stipulate whatever, as long as it's not contrary to law, morals, good customs, public order, and public policy. Just put there that your contract is subject to renewal or will terminate in 6 months subject to renewal. That will be a safer contract.
Both parties have the way to renew it every 6 months if they're both happy. If not, then at least it's consensual. Both agreed to sign that contract, right, attorney?
I think it's a safe contract. Yes, we can say that.
Okay, got it. All right. So for the most awaited part, attorney, because this is my favorite, let's talk about the weird laws in the Philippines. I heard that you can get away with murder in the Philippines if you murder your spouse caught in the act of doing something very naughty with his or her paramour. So is it true, attorney, that you will not go to jail if you caught them having sex?
Yes, because Article 247 of the Revised Penal Code allows that one. It says there that legally married person who surprises somebody or the wife, and the person caught the wife doing, sexual intercourse with another person, the spouse can actually immediately kill them or commit serious physical injury and may not suffer imprisonment for murder. If the killing happened immediately right after, then that can be a good defense against murder. But if the killing happened, let's say 1 month after or 1 week after, where you were already able to think better than that scenario, then that may not be a good defense for murder. The person may be convicted for the crime of murder if that's the case.
So it has to be right there and then. You didn't have enough time to think. You were like, it's the crime of passion because you saw them doing the thing.
If you can just imagine it, right? If you have a wife and then the wife did it with a paramour, so you were still at the height of your anger and you did it, right? So that can be a justification under Article 247 of the Revised Penal Code.
So if you're not going to jail, what are they gonna do with you? What is the punishment?
It's not that you don't have a punishment, but you may not be criminally liable, but you can actually be civilly liable in that case, and you can be liable for serious physical injuries, but for sure there will be criminal liabilities and civil liabilities, but the law only states you may not be charged for murder.
That really sounds so familiar because just recently I was watching this series about O.J. Simpson, and he was able to get away with the criminal charges for murdering his ex-wife and the alleged boyfriend. But both of the victims' family were able to sue him civilly, and they won. So the Filipino family can do the same thing.
Yes, that's correct. You may not be criminally liable, but you can be liable civilly.
Okay, and you can ask for damages.
Yes, absolutely. You can always ask for damages.
That's why, folks, I'm keep on telling you guys to just stay away from married Filipinas, because what if the husband catches you guys doing the hanky panky? Then you're not gonna be alive to tell the story about what happened, what went wrong. Because, well, attorney, I have another question though. Let's say this Filipina and the Filipino husband, they're separated, but they're not annulled. They're still legally married. Okay, they haven't seen each other for 5 years, and yet they're still legally married. And what if the Filipina is having sex with another person, and then can the husband still do the same thing? Can he still kill them both? Because legally they're still married. Can he use that defense?
Even if you have separated for like 5 years, but it was not a legal separation, you are actually still, in the eyes of the law, you're still legally married. And yes, you can still invoke that defense under this weird law that we have been discussing.
Ah, okay. So even though you haven't seen each other for a while, they can still use that as a defense when he murders you both.
For example, it's really common among Filipinos that the husband may be an OFW and has been living in the foreign country for a period of years. And then when he came back to the Philippines, caught on the act, the wife was doing, a sexual intercourse with another person, that can still be counted as Article 247, which is, we say, legally killing somebody.
Yeah, because some people might just deceive you for saying I'm no longer with my husband, yada yada yada, but they're still legally married. But what about, you mentioned, attorney, that legally separated? What if I'm legally separated from my husband, but we're still married? Can I date other people? Is that allowed?
Legal separation is actually quite weird because you're still married, and in the eyes of the law, you're still married, but you are actually allowed to live separately. So that's legal separation. Technically, you're allowed to do things separately. You're allowed to have separate custody of the children. You can live in separate houses. But technically, in the eyes of the law, you're still a married couple, and you're not. You can date, but you cannot actually marry another person if you are only legally separated.
Okay, ask for a sanamor from the Filipina just to make sure that she is not married, to protect yourself.
Yes, always protect yourself. You're in a foreign country, so you may not be familiar with the laws. So it's always better to be protected with, ask for documents. You can ask the government offices for verification of, the Filipinas data, just to be sure that she is single.
And also of legal age.
I know legal age, yeah, because Filipinas, they look younger, right? So you would not really be able to distinguish which is a Filipino who is of legal age and which one is still a minor. So you can't actually just date and do things with a minor. That can be a big crime in the Philippines.
But what if the foreigner is duped? She said, I'm 18, but she's not really 18. Can the foreigner say, I didn't know. I know nothing about her age. Can it be used as a defense? Or the judge would say, you should have known better. Ask for the ID.
That's the problem, though, because we have a legal principle. You know this. It's ignorance of the law excuses no one. Ignorance of somebody's age is not really a defense. So if the Filipino would tell you, I'm 21, I'm already 30, but when in reality the Filipino is just 16, for example, then that may not be a good legal defense that you did not know the real age of the Filipina. So there are many ways of knowing. So just be protected. Just be sure about the age.
When in doubt, always ask for the ID. All right. So what about rape? So a rapist can get away with criminal charges if he marries the victim. So that means he's forgiven.
Well, that actually is in the books, unfortunately. Well, yeah, unfortunately, it is in the books that the books actually say that the victim who subsequently marries the rapist, let's say that, um it's as if the victim have forgiven the rapist
Yeah, because I think this is kind of very, very old. Because before, if your virginity is no longer there, they're kind of forced to marry the rapist just to preserve the honor of the family. So that's what I heard. Way,
In
way
fact, that
first.
still happens in certain indigenous tribes in the Philippines where you have to marry that person to preserve the dignity of your tribe. So you would be free from the shame. Is actually almost like pardoning.
So anyway, attorney, since it's election time for our senators, is it true that you can still break a tie by tossing a coin?
Unfortunately, also, yes, that's a true law. It's under Comelec Regulation Resolution number 10083 that underlines that if there are two competing candidates for a single position and that they have equal votes, then the winner can be determined by drawing of lots or by toss coin.
Did it happen here already? I think it did happen here one time, if I'm not mistaken.
I have read before in Cebu there were many towns where the candidates will have equal votes, so they have to break the tie by toss coins.
Wow. Okay, so for my foreign friends, you have to be careful about this law because I know you guys are very soft-hearted, giving money to beggars, people who are asking money, like, homeless people. And correct me if I'm wrong, attorney, it's illegal to give money to those people.
Yes, it's also illegal because that's what we call the anti-mendicancy law, which prohibits giving alms to beggars. The purpose of the law is, of course, to control and eliminate mendicancy. Because if we continue giving money to these beggars, then, well, they will proliferate. And sometimes they say they earn more than the regular wage rates. I've heard one beggar saying that he or she actually earns around 5,000 pesos per day from mendicancy. Imagine that. The regular wage rate in the Philippines per day is just 400 something, but a beggar earns around 5,000 pesos.
Just by asking for money? Wow.
Maybe becoming a beggar is a future profession among Filipinos. So we wanted that to stop. So let's not. It's illegal. It's against the law to continue giving alms to beggars.
Can they be jailed or what are the punishments?
Well, there are actually fines. For example, if you give alms to beggars on certain streets like sidewalks, parks, bridges, the law says you'll be fined 20 pesos. That's cheap. But for beggars, you can also be given a maximum fine of 1,000 pesos and the maximum jail time of 4 years. That's for people who regularly beg.
And yet, I don't see any people getting fined or beggars going to jail because all the foreigners that I've known, they give money to beggars. So I guess this is one of those laws that it's there, but it's not implemented.
Well, it's a matter of implementation. The agencies that are supposed to be implementing that one are the police officers and then the members or officers of the Department of Social Welfare and Development. There should be the ones to implement that one. But I agree with you. I haven't actually seen somebody getting fined for giving money to beggars.
But what about if you're begging online?
Well, what the law only prohibits is to control and eliminate mendicancy in the streets. But maybe that's a good law to be passed soon. But there's actually no law prohibiting begging online, unfortunately.
What about if it's food? Is it okay, attorney? If it's not money?
The law only fines giving alms such as money and all to beggars and exploited children. And
So, attorney, have you ever come across weird laws in your practice? And can you share them with us?
yeah, in my practice, one weird law that I've encountered personally was that, family members who steal from you may not actually be criminally liable. That is actually a common case here in the Philippines where usually families stay together in one house and one sibling will steal from you. And sometimes, well, the revised penal code under Article 332 actually states that persons exempt from criminal liability in the event of theft, swindling, or malicious mischief include the spouses, brothers and sisters, or brothers-in-law and sisters-in-law living in the same house. They may be exempted from criminal liability. So it means that if your relatives cheat you out with something or steal something from you, you might not actually be able to bring a criminal case against them.
So, attorney, why did the Philippines make this law? Why would protect them? Because why? We're siblings. We share the same DNA.
The policy of the state is always to preserve the family, right? So if there are cases going on between siblings or between husband and wife, then that actually might cause for the family to have no harmony at all. So the policy of the state is always first to preserve the harmony between and among family members. And probably that's the reason why there is an exemption from criminal liability.
F that harmony. I'll be very pissed if someone stole from me, especially if it's my family members. Like, how could you? Is it also true that you cannot give anything to your mistress? The legal wife can go after anything that you give to your mistress?
That's actually true. And depending on the property regime, well, in some property regime, the property of a husband and wife become a conjugal property. It means it's owned by both, it's owned by the family. So anything that is given to the mistress is actually not allowed. And the wife can always ask for the return of that thing from the mistress.
All right. Well, Attorney Dave, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate your time and giving your expertise, your legal advice, your opinion when it comes to our weird laws in the Philippines.
I'm comfortable talking about these laws, and the topics that you've actually raised, the questions you've raised were actually challenging, and it's important that these people know about those laws. The foreigners should know about these laws.
Exactly, because they're going to be in a foreign land and they don't want to be in hot water. We want
Yes.
them to just chill, relax, and be happy. So we're here to provide them with legal advice. So, attorney, do you do online consultations? If my foreign friends, they have further questions about, retiring, living here in the Philippines, maybe they have other questions legally. You do online consultations, right?
Yeah, I do. And they can always email me, and I always give them a good advice online through my email, which I think you'll be posting on your video or on the comment
Yes.
section.
Oh, yeah. I'll be providing your contact info, attorney, if they need any legal advice. Anyway, thanks again for your time. We'll be seeing you again soon, hopefully. And guys, thanks for your time. You know the drill. I'll be back in 3 more days with something fresh. That's it for today. Thanks, attorney. Bye. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? If you think about it, I'm kind of like your maid, helping you clean up the mess from past relationships and wiping away those doubts about dating here in the Philippines. The only thing I ask for my service is that you leave a thumbs up on this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell so you can hire me again sometime. And if you check out my Patreon page full of extra content and exclusive features, you'll have made my day. Now, while I finish working, why not check out some of my other videos where I come clean about a lot of different topics? By the way, do you want me to clean your pipes?